Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a clear example. In 2022, Nigeria's Court of Appeal struck down the charges against him and ordered his release. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention has also called for his unconditional release. Yet he remains in solitary confinement, in deteriorating health, and recently had to represent himself in court. Nigeria has signaled that the law is optional and targeting Christians is fair game. Just hours ago this morning, despite the pleas and cries of the Nigerian people and many Nigerian lawmakers, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was convicted on all charges. For fiscal year 2025, the U.S. has requested nearly $8 billion for sub-Saharan Africa. But when Americans see political prisoners, judicial defiance, and the slaughter of Christians, they understandably ask as they meet their own struggles, why should our tax dollars support governments that refuse to protect their own people? Is our aid aiding a genocide? Nigeria is a nation of tremendous potential, but that potential is being choked out by violent persecution of its Christian population. No country can build a stable future where churches are burned, believers are killed, and communities live in fear.
You made mention of a final written address. And Dr. Bat, thank God that Dr. Bat is also a good in this field because I have been benefiting from his submissions and legal analysis. Now, defense is not compulsory that you will call a witness. It's not compulsory. Defense has to do with cross-examination. Defense has to do with you filing your final written address. Now, they tendered 34 exhibits. 34 exhibits, including Nnamdi Kanu's boxers, including Nnamdi Kanu's singlets, including Nnamdi Kanu's perfume, they collected in his room. Now, the judge relied heavily on all those doctored video clip. And anytime they want to tender anyone, after playing it, they will ask any objection. Our lead counsel said, my lord, we will object, but we will reserve our comment in our final written address. All these things are in the court record. This is how they tendered all the whole exhibits. And we plan to attack them on the final written address. Now, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu told you that, please, I'm supposed to enter my defense, but I want you to clarify one issue, especially the directive the Supreme Court gave that these people should amend their charge. They should amend their charge to reflect on the proper law. And the issue I raised, you said no, you must enter defense. I will address all those issues in the final judgment. Before we could say Jack Robinson, you foreclose Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. When you foreclose Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, what are you expected to do? You should order for address, because Section 36, Dr. Bat talked about Administration of Criminal Justice Act. Administration of Criminal Justice Act cannot take over the position of the Constitution. Section 36 said any person that is facing criminal trial is entitled to adequate time and facility. What is one of the facilities? Final written address. And when we came to court
is he still entitled to that if the judge feels he's being unruly and he's abusive and I'm just curious. Yes, you feel he's still entitled if he's saying that this court is rubbish, you don't know law, he should still proceed. Is that what the law says? Let me address you. See, you have to separate your personal emotion from the adjudication of a matter before you. That is why I said that judgment yesterday was predicated on anger. But I don't want to go into that. Now, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said, please, my lord, I want to find my final written address to address some issues. You, on your own, foreclose him. And when you foreclose him, because once parties are closed their matter, you expected to ask for a final written address. Except the parties on their own said, my lord, we are not filing any final written address. You're supposed to give them that opportunity of fair hearing. Let him file his final written address. You are not saying that you have used his motion he filed earlier as his final written address. Does that motion address all those doctored video clip that you accepted? Now, in all those video clips, the one that favored the prosecution, you take it. When they talk about the death of Gulag, the chief security officer of Imo State, who is the governor, said that no, IPOB is not the person that killed Gulag. Nobody killed Gulag. Gulag death was as a result of politics. That particular issue, the judge never evaluated. So I can go on and on and on and on to see
That was why someone like Engineer Padiba and some other person said that the judgment has already been written before the trial. And I concede to that. Now, the point we are making is that you give somebody, once in any criminal trial, we are talking about criminal trial, especially the one that have a capital offense, where there is any iota of doubt, you resolve it in the favor of of accused person, and you are expected to prove your case beyond reasonable doubt. You cannot place your case on the weakness of the defendant. You cannot lay your case or your prosecution on the weakness of the defendants, assuming without considering that the defendant did not object, did not file any defense. Okay, the judge, under the law, you are expected to review all those evidence to say whether they are even admissible in the first instance.
And they cannot be able to clamp down on the entire eastern part of the country on any decision being taken to show solidarity to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, either by civil disobedience or whatever, which is their right. So Nigeria should come to understanding that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's trial has become and is causing global attraction and tension, and they continue to show on the unfortunate ways of trying to restrict international observers from taking part in this illegality trial. And of course, it will go a long way to continue to damage Nigeria's image and give credence to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's trial. And that's what it means. It's unfortunate that it has come to this point where there's a global focus on Nigeria currently now, especially centered on this trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu that has the capacity and the capability to totally destabilize Nigeria at any point in time. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Judgement will be held responsible, and posterity will judge them. Any attempt to jail Mazi Nnamdi Kanu today will be resisted, and that's why you see this massive presence or deployment of Nigerian security in Afaruku.
But let me even go further, because the presence of police personnel in his house in Afaruku is being reported that it's under heavy security. What does that speak about what is happening today?
It is oppression and suppression. That's what it represents. It is a sign that nobody should rise from that region as a result of, because they know actually what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu actually represents. He is the newest symbol of the Igbo struggle, representing over 85 million Igbos, Biafrans around the world. That's what it means.
But I want to bring this angle, because information have it that the Fulanis do not want Nnamdi Kanu released, because people say that he was the only voice that was alerting Nigeria about the danger the Fulani pretend before his incarceration.
Yes, but I can tell you that the Fulani government has become an Islamic government in Nigeria. And Nigeria is no longer operating under a constitutional government. Nigeria is operating under a disguised Islamic government called Sharia law. And that is what they are using to try Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. They are using Sharia law to try Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and simply because where your questions are very 100% correct is that why is it that Nigerian government have not been able to cut down those who are brandishing different types of sophisticated weapons as bandits and jihadists? They deliberately went after people who has alerted the global community that there is danger in the land and there is possibility of ethnic cleansing and Christian genocide. And they went for Simon Ekpa and of course Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The same people who is bent on making sure they suppress that resistant voice, exposing their atrocities. And that's what we are also seeing currently now happening in the court. They are refusing UN observers. There are serious clash there between the DSS and the United Nations observer team who are there to witness the downfall of the Nigerian judiciary today.
Because as we have it, before now, we have had a situation where the arm of UN talking about the arm that deals with arbitrary detention of human beings asked Nigerian government to allow the Nnamdi Kanu go. And before then, we had a court of appeal in Nigeria who ruled that the man was extraordinary rendition as such that the Nigerian government have lost every right to prosecute him. Apart from that, Nnamdi Kanu has consistently maintained that the law upon which is being tried have been repealed as such that you cannot be tried under non-existent law. So in the face of all of this, what will be the position of UN as it make their entrance?
Yes, and when they started reacting based on the findings, I hope the Nigerian government are not going to come out and start defending what they don't know about. When Christians are being killed in Nigeria, you know, they pretended as if they don't know. When there's massive attack in almost all the regions in Nigeria, they pretend that they don't know. But they, unfortunately for them, they didn't know that the world has been documenting happenings in Nigeria the same way they are documenting the process of illegality and trial of Mazi Kanu. One day it will be used against them. No matter the way you look at it, the world will use it against them, and there will be evidences that they cannot be able to defend. The UN presence there can trigger a reaction that Nigerian government cannot be able to stand. Mazi Kanu continual trial can destabilize the global community system, international structures of justice and fundamental human rights that has been thoroughly abused as a result of what the Nigerian government tend to protect. What Nigerian government does not want this exposure of the Fulani agenda and jihadist tendencies in Nigerian government.
Okay, talk to us about this coincidence, because today we are waiting for this judgment, and as you have it, the US Congress is having a public hearing on the issue of genocide of Christians in Nigeria. And Nnamdi Kanu, even as in captivity, are raising the storm in support of every voice calling on America to save Christians in Nigeria. Talk to us about that.
Let me just make it very clearly. I learned that the federal government has dispatched an unfortunate team led by Nuhu Ribadu, the IG and the rest of them, who are going to the United States of America to try to manipulate the United States government to accept non-invasion, of Nigeria. But I do not know very clearly that the United States, they will be disgraced at the United States because, really more, they are going to have the facts and check. They don't want to entertain them in that regard. As simple as that. So, Mazi Kanu has been series of evidences, against Nigeria in that regard. Mazi Kanu has written to Donald Trump, and the letter was actually acknowledged. The US Congress have taken a decision on Nigeria already, and that decision led to the issue of country of a particular concern. So if you factor and begin to structure all these things together and be able to bring the trial of Mazi Kanu on the matter, you will know that Nigeria has become an unfortunate nation whose ideals and ideology of leadership is based on Islamizing the entire Nigeria, implementing Sharia, running an Islamic government under disguise. The Mazi Kanu under a motto, that is what the United Nations want to hear. That's what the delegate from the United States of America want to see. How a motto is going to compromise between an extant law and a law that has been repealed. Okay, and that is why the House of Representatives have told Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you cannot get this man. All you need to do is to take power from a certain section of the Constitution and set him free. They have won. They have told him. And you can see the Nigerian government is bent on, showing that the unfortunate might, instead of taking it to where Boko Haram and Sambisa forests are, the only place they see they can carry out such unfortunate, federal government might is in the entire eastern part of the country.
Before I let you go, talk to us about the position of federal government through the Secretary of Federal Government this morning, talking about Judgement, who came out to blame American government, particularly Trump, for the renewed hostility of adopting people, invading churches. According to him,
that the statement of Trump have triggered insecurity in Nigeria?
Of course, that was too childish of Akume, or what they call him.
Akuma.
Yes,
George Akuma.
George Akume. That's too childish. He has reduced himself to, a psychopath, within the corridors of power. He wouldn't go and tell the former governor of Benue State the same thing. So you can see the synergy and the connection. Why the present governor, Hyacinth Elias of Benue State, is making the same statement in connection, and they are in the same line with the secretary to the federal government, George Akume.
So you are denying what is happening in Benue State, what is happening in Middle Belt, that there is no genocide. See, that's why we fear that Nigeria does not know what have come to them, especially in the eastern part of the country. Look at what is happening in Imo State. Over 1,000 Fulanis are parading the entire capital of Owerri. What has come to that point is what we prefer to a political conquest led by the Fulani government, where they begin to plant their molds to defend, in agreement, to defend Islamic government agenda to conquer and Islamize Nigeria. Look at it. The whole Benue State, the governor is saying there's no genocide. And then the secretary to the federal government too, from the same Benue. Where are we actually heading to? The only thing why they are still breathing today, where they are still struggling to be faster than the shadow, is to make sure that before it is too late to take over the Biafran land. That is the target. But they will be disappointed that the amount of resistance, they will not be something they will live to remember for the rest of their life.
On this note, I must say very big thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.